Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. Electrifying.
Yes, guys, and welcome back to the Unhinged, the Undefeated, and the Unbreakable TCP Live, coming at you live at 7:30 p.m. every Thursday evening on YouTube and available ad-free on YouTube memberships and Patreon. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in a different setup.
Yeah, you're in an interesting place.
Why are you being weird about this?
I'm not being weird about it.
You are being weird about it. You accuse me of having an orgy.
I did. Well, I
You
cannot
did.
confirm nor deny.
You did.
I cannot confirm nor deny.
I'm at James's house. We just recorded something for the Cannon podcast. And do you want to know something funny?
Yes.
We set up cameras. We put the mics on. I prepped all the material. Oh, the camera's there. This is weird. Oh, look at that. Look at he's got
Yeah.
the camera's nice, isn't it? He's got all the gear. We did it. Yeah, we got everything done. Recorded, set up. We tried to set up a multicam, didn't quite work, but we were cooking. Did the whole hour. Press stop. James's audio didn't work.
That's poor.
Does that not sum up our season?
Yeah, it does. It does indeed. How upset were you by that?
Yeah, quite upset, to be honest. It wasn't his fault. It was just audio.
It's like an hour gone, isn't it?
Oh. It's an hour. It's an hour. It wasn't even just an hour. I got it to his house at 4:00.
So, what's the plan now?
This is the best. I feel like your dad. It's the perils of making content. Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? Thank you all so much. Shinavesh was first in the chat. Says, "Come on, you Gunners." Nindo says, "Back three." Fodder and Football says, "Hee." Just Tom says, "Has anyone found out how to quick sim reality?"
Quick sim reality.
Yes, we are here to talk the Gabriel hamstring. We'll talk the Saka return and the Fulham game. We're going to talk Victor Gyökeres and why I hate him and want him to perish. We're going to talk potentially our midfield and then get in as many questions as we can. Do you know what I think this evening, Roham?
Yes.
It might have to be a therapy session because I think everyone is gutted.
Yeah. So, I mean,
are you all right?
I thought you were going to say something.
No.
Well, gutted is a strong word. What other word would I use?
Joshua says mourning.
Yeah. But there is a but.
Are you all right?
Yes. I'm thinking of how I can kind of cope with this situation. Because I've tried not to think about it.
Right.
But I think
you're in denial is what you are.
Yeah, I think if we look at it, so we have the options of a Calafiori, a White, and a Timber. Okay, we need two of them to be fit for next week. Yeah. To be, I'd say still be confident because actually, two of them to be confident. And I would say that who is more important in this game between Timber and Gabriel, right? I would say it's Timber.
Where are you going with this?
And I think so. I'm thinking it's not all is not lost.
I've never heard copium like it.
I've
never heard copium like.
No.
I think our best defender this season. It's actually a good thing we don't have him in our realm.
No, I'm not saying.
And here's why.
Not saying that. I'm saying right. I'm looking at relatively. Yeah. So I'm thinking about Timber. I'm thinking about Gabriel. Who would I rather have for the Madrid game? Who would I rather have? If I've got to pick between two, I would 100% rather have Timber.
We're playing Jakub Kiwiorki at centre back, right?
No, we're not playing Jakub Kiwiorki at centre back.
We don't know. Currently, we are. I'm sure there isn't just catch up. Go on.
All it takes is for one of these players to be fit for us to not see Kiwiorki start. That's all it will take. One of White, Saliba, no, not White, Calafiori, and Timber to be fit for us to not see Jakub Kiwiorki at left centre back. Yeah, I'm not cooking anything, but hear me out. Hear me out, right? If Ben White is fit, we don't need to play Kiwior. If Calafiori is fit, we don't need to play Kiwior. If Timber is fit, we don't need to play Kiwior. The only problem is that if only one of them is available, then we have to move to the Thomas Partey right back situation. That's the consequence. And then you're looking at Partey against Vinicius. But I'm sorry, I do not want to see Kiwior alongside Saliba against Kylian Mbappe. I just can't. I can't see that. So I'm not cooking really anything. But what I'm saying is that
I'm being facetious. There's a way. There's a world in which we can be okay. If you missed this, I'm sure you didn't. Further to being substituted during our match against Fulham on Tuesday, we can confirm that Gabriel Magalhaes sustained a hamstring injury, which requires surgery. Gabby will undergo a surgical repair procedure to his hamstring in the coming days and immediately begin his recovery and rehabilitation program with the aim to be ready for the start of next season. We currently, as I'm aware, we don't know about Ben White as of Thursday, 7:30. We don't know about Ben White. We don't know about Timber. We don't know about Calafiori.
Yes, yeah.
And we are assuming, who is that? Yeah, White, Timber, Calafiori.
White, Timber, Calafiori. They're the three.
Those are the three. Okay.
Yeah, they're the three.
Okay, so should we build our 11?
It's devastating. It is devastating.
Before we come to the wider conversation, should we build? Yeah. Let's build our 11 for the. Oh, James, what is this? What is this keyboard? He's got like a. What is this?
James is on a different level in terms of what he's got.
Don't put me down. I'm trying to work out the key. How do I do it? Tactical board.
Has he got a really like ergonomic keyboard?
Oh, it's like, you know. Yeah, look at me. I've got a nice keyboard. There's no dash on it, and there's no @ on it either. Utterly.
Right. Okay.
No, clearly not. Let's build our 11 based on that. Can you see my screen?
I can indeed.
Like, for example, how do I scroll in?
There you go.
Zoom in. Does that
work? Not just do it like that? The little.
No, but I can't like.
There must be a little magnifying glass at the top right or something.
Share. That one. Oh, I can't do it.
Oh my God, you're operating like a dweeb right now.
Right, whatever. Right, we're building our 11. Let's assume that the three of them are out. As in the four. So Gabriel, Calafiori. Well, we know Gabriel's definitely out, but let's presume the other three are out. So Gabriel, Calafiori, White, and Timber. What is your? Obviously, that's Raya. But what is your back?
All three are out.
Yeah, let's build a back five with those three out.
It's what it is, isn't it? It's going to be Thomas Partey right back.
Partey right back.
Well, that's the wrong way around. Yeah,
I'm aware. Yeah.
So all three are out. So you've got no White, you've got no Calafiori, you've got no Timber, and obviously no Gabriel. So this is the worst case scenario.
This is worst case scenario.
So it will be Kiwior. Yeah, it has to be Kiwior.
Is it? Is there a world?
No, I do not want Declan Rice.
Okay.
At the back.
I don't either, but I asked the question.
No, I think I would definitely go for Kiwior in that scenario. I think Declan Rice is too important in midfield in this game.
And I'm presuming MLS at left back. So that would be our back five against Real Madrid.
That's a disaster. That is
in that case.
That's a disaster. That is a disaster. They can hurt us in so many different ways. The biggest problem that I have with I get a lot of stick with my Kiwior takes, and fair enough. I mean, I'm a bit harsh on him, but I think the problem with Jakub Kiwior is it's not the case he's a bad player. He isn't. He has really good qualities in certain aspects. I really like what he does on the ball in terms of those balls over the top and in behind. He's got really good quality there, and the way that he kind of sends a really good message to the receiver in those scenarios. I really like that. But the problem with Kiwior is that his weaknesses coincide with what we demand from. Interesting.
You can carry on with your Kiwior copium in a minute. How do you zoom
No
in?
Kiwior copium.
Oh.
Like on the thing.
Hi, Cannon Pod viewers.
Hi, James.
FN.
FN?
Okay, no, maybe.
Well, you don't even know.
Oh, there we go. Start. And that's it.
Start and then the...
It's like a weird
What
keyboard.
is this keyboard?
Oh, no, it's nuts. But I'm just So I'm still eating pizza.
Start and then
'Cause
the B button.
Can I tell you why?
In Pascal Gross's name. That's the B it's got here.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even work.
Do you know what? No. That's because it's down. So that's up and that's down.
Oh
Yeah.
right.
Do you know why though? It's because it's the equivalent of like command.
It doesn't
plus.
stay.
No, that's a StreamYard problem.
I like that. I rate that. Go on, James.
God, we're trying to build an 11
Yeah.
based on the idea that Calafiori.
Okay, let me do something for you. Can I show you how I always do this?
What would you do?
I pull that tab off.
Oh, look at this.
Hold on. Let's pull that tab away.
Look at this.
Just move it there, right? Let's make that smaller. So it's a bit more.
Oh, look at this. I'm learning.
Now what you can do is still see the comments and still do what you want to do.
Oh, James.
No worries.
Thanks,
Happy
James.
to help.
Appreciate it.
I'm going back to my pizza. Call me
Okay.
if you need some good football opinions.
Bit harsh.
Love you both.
Bit harsh.
I love you. Bye, Ryan. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
He won't say it back. He's.
Wait, so
afraid.
where was that?
Are we saying?
Kiwiorki, right? No, okay, no. What? No, it was not Jackal
Sorry,
Kiwiorki.
what were you kicking? What were you kicking? What were you cooking about Kiwior?
No, what I'm saying is with Jackal Kiwior, the biggest issue with Jackal Kiwior is the fact that his weaknesses coincide with what we want from our centre backs. That is the reality of Jackal Kiwior. In terms of the ability to defend 1v1s centrally in the channels, Kiwior can't do that. In terms of aerially, he mistimes his jumps a lot, and he's someone who needs a lot of protection. And if you remember the game against Manchester United at the Emirates, where we played Kiwior and Zinchenko, Arsenal's press in that game was very passive. Why? Because Declan Rice was deeper to protect Kiwior, and also Zinchenko to a certain extent as well. Yeah. So the problem with Kiwior is that he creates a really bad ripple effect when you're playing against teams who have good quality forwards. I mean, Man United didn't in that game, but it's an unfortunate scenario that we are in, and it's one that I don't think Mikel will try and go for unless it is last resort. And the reason why I say that is because the Aston Villa game, Kiwior was available. We obviously had no Saliba, and we went with Timber at centre back and Partey at right back. So I think Mikel will be creative and he will try his absolute best to not play Kiwior in this game. And rightly so, because I think it is. Listen, he plays against Real Madrid. He gets rinsed. You know, I could come here and I could criticize him, but we knew that was going to happen, isn't it? It's like, you know what's going to happen, so there's no point ripping someone. When that reality is something that you expected. So I think that if all three are out,
I completely agree with your analysis, but I think you have to play him.
Yeah, you have to play him.
It's also like I think if we don't play him in that situation, just from like a optics and even selling the player in the summer and the confidence of the player, like you have to start to consider those things. We like if we didn't play him, we don't even consider you good enough as like we would play anyone there before you. So
it's a really bad indictment if Declan Rice moves to centre back and Kiwior is available. That's why I think it is very important that we are as creative as we can be.
Yeah.
But in that scenario where you're alluding to all three players out alongside Gabriel, it has to be Kiwior.
Khalid, this is with Calafiori, Gabriel, White, and Timber out. If you have a better answer than Partey right back, be my guest. Be my guest. Yeah, so I think we'll come back to the back line in a second and maybe add some in. I think probably this has to be Marino.
Yeah.
Up top. Yeah. I think this has to be the name, assuming he doesn't get injured. Who's the other midfielder?
Well, actually,
that's tough in that situation.
Yeah, it is tough.
Because I don't think Jorginho can play this game. I think this is the opposite of a Jorginho game.
The only way you could make Jorginho work is if you, in the press, if you push Jorginho higher. But that's not something
asking a lot, I think.
It's not something I'm comfortable with. I think it would be I would go for Martin Odegaard on the left and Wanyeri on the right.
Alternatively, we see something like this.
No, I wouldn't do that, actually. No, I wouldn't do that.
I mean, I'm not saying we necessarily do or don't do it. I'm just saying it's an option.
No, that's what I do. Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah.
So I think this is what I think Arteta would do in that situation again with those four players out. And the only thing I personally would do is I would keep Marino in here, and I'd put Waneri in there. That's what I'd personally do, but he will never do that.
No, I would go. I would go with that. I would go with Trossard up front and Marino, because Marino naturally, the way that we'll use him, he'll be making runs in the box, and he'll be adding a lot of threat in that area, regardless. And I also think Marino will be better equipped in the press, even though I don't think he's been particularly great at that in midfield. But when it's relative terms to other options that we have, I think that would be what I'd go with.
Assuming Calafiori, actually, who's probably closest? Ben White's back. Let's assume Ben White's back because supposedly he had a bad training session and he just didn't want to play that game. So I don't think White's that far away. I think he could play.
Yeah, it then becomes a very straight swap of Saliba moving to the left, who has experience on the left-hand side for France, and also when he was on loan at Nice. And Ben White would move at right centre-back. Very much of what we saw against Nottingham Forest at the opening day of last season, nominally, and then also against a Crystal Palace as well in the following game. So, yeah, I think that certainly would be what I'd look to do. If any of those other players that you mentioned are available, then Kiwior comes out. That's the way I see it. I personally would rather Thomas Partey at right back than Jacob Kiwior at left centre back. Personally,
yes, I would agree. As much as it limits us, I think it's less of a weakness than it was. So that's with Ben White back. Let's assume that Timber is back,
but no Ben White.
Yep.
Then it becomes a straight swap there again. Yep.
Okay.
And Timber had a fantastic game against Ollie Watkins as well. Yeah, and although Ollie Watkins obviously scored, I think when we were pressing and the situations that Villa tried to create along our last line, Timber did really well. And the level of running he gives us there as well, in terms of jumping, but then also retreating, he'd be an easy pick there for me.
I've just seen a horrific. I'm sorry to be mean to our audience, Mikhail. No. I love you. I'm sure you're a nice guy. Tierney's not playing right back. Not against Vinicius.
No.
Definitely. No, please.
I mean, Thomas Partey at right back against Vinicius isn't.
Ben White. And let's say Calafiori was available. Does anything change for you? Potentially for me, yeah. I think it's one up essentially. I think we do that.
Let's change this now. Let's say that all three are available. Right? All three. This is my preferred solution. Calafiori at left centre back. That is where he is at his best. I'll maintain that. That is where I'll watch the games of Bologna. That is where I'll watch some of the games for Italy. He is fantastic there. He is a very exciting prospect at left centre back. He's very strong in defensive situations in the box. His defending in central areas relative to wide areas is a lot stronger. The only thing with Calafiori is he's very capricious. So That's
a big word.
Excuse me. But he gives you a level of unpredictability that can leave fans a little bit edgy in a game like this.
Yeah.
But this is where he's made. This is where he's made for. And I think I'd be very disappointed if Calafiori is available and Mikel doesn't go with him.
I think that would be my back four if Calafiori was available, because I don't think you bring White in against Vinicius. I think that would be my 11 if Calafiori was fit.
Yeah, he has. I'd find it very confusing if Calafiori was available and he didn't feature at left centre back, because that is where he's at his best.
We did see Tomiyasu on the bench. So disgusting. There's a wider conversation here, isn't there? Which is around injuries, which you discussed many times. But obviously, we are here again talking about another injury to another player, another hamstring injury. And we need to talk about it. We need to talk about how we deal with that. Before we do that, actually, just quickly, we need to do thumbnail check. And let me tell you, I think that's my favorite thumbnail. I don't even know what it means.
Is it Thunderbirds? No, it's not. Sorry, Thunderbirds. I don't know why I said Thunderbirds.
Thunderbirds.
Do you know when? Oh, I'm not going to explain actually, but
If you're listening, the caption is Martinelli, hee hee, and it's you're not there, I don't think.
I think I'm
You're
the middle.
No, that's Martinelli.
Yeah, but yeah, it is actually. Sorry. Yeah.
I don't know if I can zoom in.
Actually, let me put my glasses on. I can't see this properly.
Blimming keyboard, man.
Oh, it is Martinelli. Yes.
I can't zoom in. So there you go. You're just gonna have to deal with it. So we can't find the hidden Rohan, but I think he might.
Of course, the Michael Jackson statue outside Craven Cottage, isn't it? That's like...
Oh.
Yeah, of course.
Got you. This is 10 out of 10.
That's class. No, that is class.
This is genuinely 10 out of 10. This is I think this is Forder's best thumbnail. Because it's relevant to Fulham. It's got a little hint up here to the Gabriel thing.
I still think his GTA one was the best.
But the GTA was on the calendar.
No, yeah, okay, fair.
Are you going to do that? Are you going to do that thing where you do? Well, you can always improve. So it's actually
you can always improve.
9.9.
Always be better. So, what have you given it a 10?
I'm giving it a 10, 100%.
Shocking, that. Shocking. You're saying Forder basically can never improve on that. That's what you're saying.
So you're saying, yeah, let's talk about it. The Gabriel injury, another hamstring after how many hamstrings is that this season? So that's Saka, that's Havertz, that's Gabriel and Martinelli, I think.
Did Martinelli have a hamstring?
I think it was his hamstring. It could be his calf, which I'll be wrong. But there's certainly 3 big hamstring injuries this season, combined with all the other injuries that have happened, etc., etc. I don't think any discussion of this can be fair without saying 2 things. One, Reece Nelson as well. The lack of information we have publicly. So let's just say that as a number one. So a lot of this information we're guessing, we don't know. You know, the players have been overrun. We'll talk about that, but do we know that? And have we got the physical data to back that up? No, we don't. So we have to be careful with that. And secondly, that these things are always multifactorial. Now, I want to talk about each of the factors and go through them, but this is multifactorial. And I don't say that to be like, so therefore we can't blame Arteta, or therefore it's not luck. It's always a combination. So those are the 2 things. Many factors. I'll name a few and let's see what you feel. I think the intensity of the Premier League is a massive aspect here, an absolutely massive aspect here. And I want to bring up a graph, if I can actually do it, that I found earlier, which I'm not sure the source of. I think it says on there. Here it is. Oh yeah, from Skill Corner. So I'm just going to bring this up. So this is one of the aspects which is a concern. And that is intensity of the Premier League. So this is increasing intensity, how the physical output of the Premier League players has increased since 2018-19. And you can see it's on the x-axis is number of high-intensity actions per 90 minutes. So anything that's less than, more than 20 kilometers an hour per 90 minutes. And then peak, I'm not an engineer. I don't know. And then peak sprint velocity in the 90th percentile for kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
I think it's per 90. The data sources, Skill Corner. You can check that out. And you can see the increasing intensity over the years. You can see probably an outlier in 2020, 2021, which is the COVID year. But every single year, the physical output of the Premier League players has increased. And that's what, like, normally on these sorts of graphs, you see a little bit of wiggle. It's just been going up year on year on year. I think this is a massive part of it. As we know, the football calendar is a big part of it. There's some data out there that, times that teams have gone through, not played every 3 days, but we know in terms of the Club World Cup, in terms of the Euros, in terms of the EFL Cup and the FA Cup and the Super Cup and the Premier League and the Champions League and the Europa League, we know that challenge is there. Before I come into Arsenal as well, I just want to play this clip, which I think is really, really important. I might have to share my screen a different way. This is a really important thing for me.
The Arteta one.
Yeah, I think this is really, really key and really important. Can you hear this?
Are you allowed to show this?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I can hear it.
You can hear that. Okay, let me run it back. So this is a clip of Arteta speaking. This is actually this is probably 2 months ago at this point. I think this might have been after maybe the Jesus one or maybe the Havertz one. I'm not sure, but this wasn't recent. And he said this, and I think it's really important to listen to.
Is there anything you can do in training? How do you have to adapt training to these games every 3 days? Can you even train properly?
No, we're very limited. We train less than ever. You see our data, we train less than ever. It's normal. It's no time for training. But we talk about training only what happens in the grass. The biggest problem is that you don't train the muscle. That's the problem. So the muscle is under-trained, and then you expose the muscle and the tendon to an exposure that they cannot absorb because the tendon needs 72 hours to recover. So a lot of people talk about what we're doing outside. It's not inside. It's inside. When you have to load that muscle for 2, 3, 6, 8 weeks, you haven't trained it, the risk of injury is much bigger. One, because the muscle or the tendon is not recovered, and then it's not prepared to absorb the load and the stress that you're going to put him under again every 3 days. That's the problem.
So when you say accident waiting to happen, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a really important aspect of this, and this is beyond Arsenal, which is that in the fact that we don't have much time in between games. And again, this is why I bring the caveats that I do at the beginning, which is because this is the stuff that the top level knowledge that people just aren't aware of particularly. And when we get it, I do want to hammer it home that not only does the tendon not recover, you can't do anything because you're not doing anything in between games to keep working it and keep it going. There's a much higher risk of injury. That's a massive aspect of things, and I think shouldn't be ignored. And then probably coming on to the Arsenal aspects of things, I looked it up earlier in terms of the number of Arsenal players so I looked up from 2022 to 2023 to this season. Arsenal have 7 representatives in the top 200 players in terms of minutes. I think Liverpool had like 6, Chelsea had like 2, United had 5, but we had the most by 1, but we had the most. So I think there is a conversation to be had around squad rotation, certainly for the likes of Gabriel, certainly for the likes of Declan Rice, even though that does go back to his West Ham days as well, certainly for the likes of Bukayo Saka. These are the guys that we know are in that list, so I think that's absolutely fair to talk about. And then I also think in terms of the intensity of the way we play, I think there's a factor there as well in terms of how we play. George always talks about the MVP of this Arsenal team is the press, and you pay for that a little bit in some ways. So many factors. It's really frustrating. But yeah, I'll go back to it. 1, how little information we have, and 2, any one thing. So this is just on intensity or just on Arteta, I think is wide of the mark.
I think it's very difficult to have a substantial opinion on this personally, like without knowing enough. I can come here and say, oh, Arsenal are playing too intensely, but how can you really? There's a lot of, I think there's a lot of numbers in terms of the number of sprints Arsenal do, and it's nothing that is wide off the mark relative to other teams, and Arsenal doing an extraordinary amount of running relative to other teams. So I find it very uncomfortable to talk about this because I just don't know enough about it, and this is where I look at some of the studies that have come out. I look at what people who are actually within the field, George included, but also people who don't have an affiliation with Arsenal and are just there to give you an outright opinion on what is happening in football and why there are more injuries, more hamstring injuries occurring. And it is the volume of games and it is the schedule. And it goes back to COVID, I think, because COVID is what meant that the season had to stop, then we had to finish that season, and then we've had this cycle of games that have been happening on and on and on and on, and there's not been enough recovery. And then you had the Winter World Cup as well. So there's not been a period in which these players have been able to reset. And I think there was that, I think it was the Everton player, was it, who spoke about the level of running required in the Premier League now and how they're always in zone 6, I think it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Everton. I know who you mean. Is it Twanzebe?
Yeah, Twanzebe, that's
Twanzebe,
it. Yeah, and he mentioned it as well. So this isn't exclusive to Arsenal. So the evidence that I have in front of me right now, because I don't think what I say on this holds a lot of weight, because I don't even believe in it personally. So I'm not going to be confident in that opinion. But what I can be confident in is what other people are saying, is what other studies are showing, and it isn't something that is exclusive to Arsenal. Maybe there is an aspect that Mikel could have done better in. But I think sometimes when you're trying to find when you're trying to beat the manager here with this stick where you don't know enough about this topic, I don't think that's fair. And that's where I stand on it. You know, it's like, you know, the Gabriel injuries happen. It's another hamstring, and then you're trying to think to yourself, oh, maybe it is Arteta, maybe it is Arteta, or maybe it's just the trend that has been happening in football for a while now with these hamstring injuries. Maybe it is just that, you know, just because another thing happens doesn't mean it leads to the manager being questioned in this scenario. So that's where I stand on it personally.
Ruax as well has brought in another good point. Do you think the red cards we've had early in games is a factor? Again, you know, it's not I don't think it's a massive factor, but I think you can't deny that Arsenal being down to 10 men for games at this point. It's not 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. It's halves of football where we don't have a player. That has to be impacting, and partly my frustration in when they are unfair. It should be the last possible thing to send someone off because of the risk as well. Also on screen, so data from Premier Injury shows that in the Premier League this season, there have been 118 hamstring-related injuries. They represent more than a quarter of all injuries of the division. Of those 118 injuries, 71 of them, so 60%, have been severe enough to keep the player out of action for a month or more. From the start of the 2019-20 season to the end of the 2022-23 campaign, by contrast, only 40% of hamstring injuries kept a player out for such a long period of time. And there's a study as well, which I'll bring up, from Open, I think it's BJ Sports Med, but basically the idea is that the hamstring injuries have increased during recent seasons and now constitute 24% of all injuries in men's professional football. This is the UEFA Elite Club Injury Study from 2001-02 to 2021-2022, so over 20 years.
But also, RM makes a good point as well to kind of back this. Like what we are seeing is injuries to players who have had incredible fitness and incredible availability. Yeah. So, I'm sorry, but the trend for me leads to something that is a lot bigger than just exclusively to Arsenal and our training methods and our regimes. I'm sure, I mean, they're not infallible, but the people at Arsenal here surely will be aware of what is happening and surely would be implementing procedures to deny things like this happening. But sometimes a situation that is controlled by external factors dictates it, and there's the preeminent driver here. So
John makes a good point as well, is that it's not, the injuries we've had have been a problem, but they also cause injuries because you overload a player, because you lose a rotational option. That's why we get cluster injuries in the same positions.
Especially in our case, because when we've had injuries this season, it's been concentrated in a certain area. So then it leads those other players who are stepping in to then be overworked as well. And with the games that are coming up and the volume, it's just, I struggle to believe that Arsenal are doing something that is causing these injuries, and it's the biggest driver here.
Well,
I struggle to.
Look, we don't know, and again, I don't know doesn't mean we're excused, and I don't know doesn't mean let's hammer them. It means we don't know. You know what I mean? I think it's both ways. You know, I think it's I don't know, so let's not hammer the club, but also I don't know, but maybe there is something, and that has to remain on the table if we're looking for a solution. But you know, Jonathan here says big teams have to have adequate backups. Only solution. Jonathan, I agree that big teams have to have adequate backups, but I don't think it's the only solution. And I think one of the dangers here is what we do as clubs and players is we go, well, we've just got to keep adapting. We just keep adapting. And that basically, especially as fans as well, our response to this, am I going to go this far? 90% of fans will probably say, well, we just need to do better. The club need to look internally. We need to do something in the transfer market. We need to sign less injury-prone players. We'll do player, club, because it's the things we can do. What's a lot harder, but actually probably going to give us better results over the long term, is things like the players saying, we will not play if you add more games to our calendar. It's things like players unionizing, as I've seen suggested. And I think it's a great idea, and saying there is a limit to what we do. And people bring up the money thing in this. You could be paid £1 million an hour. You still have a physical capacity. It doesn't matter how much you're paid. The money aspect is, oh, give me 100 grand, I'll run around. Well, good luck, because you're still human and you've still got a physical capacity. It's a complete red herring of an argument. It really frustrates me. I think what we need to do is obviously look across the board, as I keep saying, but also maybe begin to turn our attention when these things happen to putting pressure on FIFA and UEFA and the Premier League and the FA to band together and get the players together and get the players to say, look, this is an issue that's affecting everyone. You know, we've spoken a lot about our injuries this season. We absolutely should. We're an Arsenal podcast, so we're going to talk about Arsenal's injuries, right? But look at Tottenham, look at Man United, look at City to some degree. Other top teams, they've had a rotten year. They've had a rotten year, and as we have as well. And we're second, and we're doing all right. But you know, we've got to take the club glasses off and stop looking at ourselves sometimes and say there's a wider issue here. And I think for me, it's things like there should be literally a charter that is a limitation on how many. A team can come together and decide what is the maximum amount of football a player is allowed to play in a season. That should be something just wheeled out next season. There is a minute's load that you can play. Stuff like that, I'm sure it needs to be thought through and all these things, but drastic things like that, rather than, well, we just got to keep expanding the squad and keep promoting people before they're ready and keep rushing people back and keep just keeping up with the demands of the Premier League and keep getting more intense. Well, maybe, but
how hard is that to do? You know, like have the players unite and go against this. It's
going to be hard, but that's what you have to do. It's what any look at anything that I don't want to go into politics here, but just if you look at a lot of achievements, they've happened by people banding together. The NHS, people banding together post-war and saying this is how we're going to do healthcare now. And, you know, the NHS is changing. It needs to change for the modern era. But that was an achievement of people coming together and saying, okay, this is how we're going to do something. And we have to do it ultimately. You know, I think this mindset of let's look after ourselves and look after our players, it not only will it not fix the problem, it will just keep kicking the can down the road and making it worse.
It's also very difficult, like saying, okay, let's buy X amount of players. Let's say we increase our squad to which it becomes inflated. How do you keep everyone happy?
You can't.
And so then it's like it's the balance that you have to have. I agree with you. You know, there has to be something to stop this from occurring. And it's a wider issue that's not just exclusive to Arsenal. And that is why I say, like, all the evidence that I have in front of me, that is substantial evidence, that is not biased and it's objective, points to something that is bigger than just Arsenal.
Yeah.
And that's where I stand on it. And just because sometimes we try and think that there is an underlying problem within when another injury happens. But no, it could just still be the same thing, the same result of the games being too many and not having enough time to recover. So I remember talking. That's mean. That is, I do need a shave. I'll be honest. It's got a little bit long. I remember saying on this podcast, what we need Van Dijk or we need De Bruyne or someone to come out and say that this isn't okay. We need something to change. That's happened now. It's not worked. Rodri said it before the injury that he had.
Rodri said it before his injury. De Bruyne said it. Harry Kane says players not being listened to on schedule concerns. He says, well, I don't think the players have been listened to that much, if I'm totally honest. But also, everyone wants their piece, their tournament, their prize, and the players are kind of the people who have to get on with it. But it is what it is. I love playing football, so I'm never going to complain about playing football. I think if you manage it well with your coaches and your manager and your clubs, there are ways of getting more rest in certain moments. But it's not an easy question. Yeah. It's not an easy situation. I think there could be a balance from both sides, but we'd have to see how that pans out.
But the issue there, right, is what he said there. But it is what it is. I love playing football. If you have that mentality, then nothing's going to change then. Nothing's going to change. The fixture's just going to keep going on and on and on.
And again, it puts the onus on the players rather than on the decision makers who decide the conditions for the players. And they have to be there. MM says reducing the league size an option. I can't see that. Someone earlier said the Carabao Cup. Look, when it comes to money, this is why people say, it doesn't need to be as drastic. It does, unfortunately, because you have to affect their bottom line. You have to say, I refuse to play this weekend.
Yeah.
If we don't get some serious review on this and some serious action on this. And also, you can be cooperative. It doesn't have to be this, right, I'm not doing it. It can just be, look, we've got a problem, but we've come together and we are not leaving this table until we find a solution. A solution, by the way, that would probably benefit everyone. That would probably say...
what it is as well is what players like Rodri who speak on this whole their opinion holds a lot of weight because Rodri has won everything with Manchester City. You know, when it's let's say it's a player who is coming out and their team hasn't achieved much, and they're going with these opinions, it doesn't hold as much weight as someone like a Rodri who's won everything and he's speaking about this before his injury. You know, so when it's these players who have got really nothing to lose and they're speaking honestly about a subject, you have to take that into consideration, especially when it is someone like him who, again, has impeccable fitness. When you look for his career and his availability, it's a wider issue here.
Just, I think that's a good point. And just speaking off the top of the head, the reason I say competitions like, you know, the EFL Cup, wherever it might be, couldn't be canned is because of money. But ultimately, if the players are willing to take a bit of a cut to do this, which they might have to, which they shouldn't, I'm not saying, and to be clear, if it was up to me, the president of FIFA will come out tomorrow and say, right, we're canning the Nations League or whatever. Because again, the Nations League was brought in to replace those low impact international friendlies where everyone just kicked the ball around. It was brought in to make it more competitive and more intense. Like, you know, if it was up to me, that would go. That'd be one of the first things to go. But they're never going to do that. But if the players can say, look, we're willing to forego something, we're willing to, that's another form of player power that is there. So yeah, Gonny, if you missed the top of the pod, James and I recorded something earlier and his audio didn't work, so we're gonna have to re-record it next week. Yeah, really frustrating. Look, on Gabriel specifically and Arsenal, how much of this do you think is Arteta overplaying and that sort of stuff?
I don't know, mate. I don't know. I mean, centre backs usually by trade, they don't rotate much. They just don't. It's not something that has happened, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult to say because I do believe that our centre backs, they are, on one hand, they are tasked with a lot of demands in terms of their roles and responsibilities, even though the control that we have, the intensity that they have to give us in terms of 1v1s, what they have to do in the press, retreating. There's a lot there, but I don't know, mate. I just don't know on this. Like, it's so hard to say. You know, did Gabriel, because Gabriel played against PSV in a dead rubber, did that lead to this injury now?
Yeah.
How can I be confident in saying that?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes we just don't have answers, mate. You know, like sometimes you always try and think you're pressured into giving an answer. Sometimes you just can't. You don't have an answer, mate. That's it. It's like that.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good position in life, is just to not always, like, sometimes you don't know. I actually don't know. That's okay. Like, we don't know that, and there isn't a clear answer with this. And yeah, look, I think for me, my big conclusion around this is, could the club do something better? Of course they could. Of course they could. Could Mikel probably have rotated better? Of course he could. But there is, if you think this is like a Arsenal specific issue, that the correct response to this is not, there's something going on here. Yes, Arsenal have done something, but can we all talk about that? Your answer is bloody Mikel Arteta. Like,
it's confirmation bias, mate. It's confirmation bias, and it goes both ways. It's like sometimes on that side, it goes both ways. So I'm not going to just defend the stance of Mikel, you know, of like countering the Arteta out people. But I think what it is you are presented with a piece of information that goes in line with your beliefs on the manager. So then you will always try and interpret that information to kind of beat the manager with that stick. And it works the other way around as well. When we lose a game of football and there are things Mikel could have done better, then you have the other side of it saying, you know, the manager knows best. You've not got your coaching badges. You've never played the game. Yeah. It's what it is, isn't it? It's like,
it's always the way. It's really frustrating. But look, best of luck to Gabby in his recovery.
And he was my player of the season as well. That's how good he has been. He was.
It's just how you feel, like, just on I'm honestly at like delete campaign. I was talking to James earlier, and I was like, if you handed me a button that said sim to end of season, and I could arrive there. Also, I don't want to miss my life, but you know, in football terms, you know, sim to the end of the season. I'd probably do
okay, let me give you a different question here. So let's say you can sim Arsenal. See, Arsenal don't play any more games until pre-season. Would you take that?
We don't play any more games.
Yeah, yeah.
No. I like, as in, I have to live the time with no Arsenal, no chance.
So that's why I'm like.
But I'm saying you jump in your brain. You literally
you jump to the end of the season.
Jump forward. You just jump forward, and we've probably lost to Madrid.
I still want to see how we fare against Madrid personally. I think it's a very good opportunity still.
Yeah, maybe off the Madrid game we can find the sim season button. It is
because we're going to finish second. We are going to finish second.
You know what's funny as well is on that meme, it's Arteta. You know, they're like the forfeit campaign thing on FIFA. It is Arteta as well. It's just so perfect. Wait, let me find it.
Oh man,
forfeit season.
I'm really hoping Calafiori can make it.
I'm sorry, but this is just so funny that it's Arteta.
I'm pretty sure that picture was from when he got sent off against West Brom. I'm pretty sure. No, that's very niche. But
Fulham.
It was when he missed the penalty.
Missing a penalty in the 94th minute against Fulham.
I remember Berbatov, I think, scored.
That looks Photoshop, though, that. I think it was forfeit campaign.
Yeah, I think it was. Oh, no, I think it is.
That's so niche. Know that. I actually think it was... Oh, it's match. That was it.
Yeah.
I'm such a nerd. I am such a nerd.
I remember that 3-3 game so well as well.
I can't believe I knew that. That's absolutely tragic. Oh my god. Right, Rohan. Should we talk about something fun?
Yeah, go on.
Transfers. I like transfers. Make me happy.
Do you like Victor?
Say again.
Do you like Victor?
Exclusive from Hand of Arsenal. It is our understanding Arsenal have been granted permission from Sporting CP to explore personal terms with the camp of Victor Gyökeres. Hassan Chetinkaya, I'm going to go with, who is also a long-term friend of Mikel Arteta, will now discuss key factors on the player's side with Andrea Berta. Andrea Berta is pushing for Victor Gyökeres to be strongly considered to lead the Arsenal attack next season, with the interest first being reported by David Ornstein. It is crucial to stress Arsenal are merely laying extensive groundwork for a strong candidate. The new sporting director wants to ensure the club have multiple options to choose from when the time comes to decide. And I feel that is a very important paragraph. Firstly, asking you, Mr. Rohan, what you think of Victor Gyökeres.
So I spoke to George about this. And again, I've not watched loads of Victor Gyökeres. What I have watched is the game against us. And you know what that means? I've watched 180 minutes because I watched the game twice.
With you, it could have been, yeah, what's that time?
Yeah. So I actually think in that game, obviously, we were fantastic. And he had the graveyard shift, really. He was feeding us scraps. But I felt personally, from the little service that he had, he impressed me. And I came out of it thinking, this is a 55/60 million pound striker. Judging from that performance, personally, like I need to watch more, obviously, to be more confident in that. But I felt what I liked about him was the fact that he gets shots off, and that's what came from it. Like, you know, when I look at something Arsenal lack, it is the ability to kind of get shots off quickly. And I feel like, and I've done this with Data George, in terms of, I have this feeling that Arsenal play with their food too much, and I think we need some players who can operate with more instinct. And from what I saw in that game, just that game, Gyökeres seems to certainly give us something there. Now, I think George was mentioning about his play back to goal under contact. I need to watch more on that personally. But I think if that is a concern of Victor Gyökeres, right, something that Mikel has done very well consistently with our forward players is their ability under contact, back to goal, and being secure on the ball in those scenarios. So if that is a weakness that Victor Gyökeres has, then that's certainly something that Mikel can work with and can improve on. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know more outside of that personally, but at the moment, from what I saw there, 55-60 million pound striker who gives us something that we lack, but I don't know the other pros and the other limitations there outside of obviously the number of goals he scored. So, yeah. But the other thing I want to add on to this, and I've mentioned this to George, one of the big worries that I had, and I read that Athletic article when it was the Andrea Berta announcement, and towards the end of it, it was kind of like Andreas Berta will be coming in to work with the existing recruitment team, and you know, it could be a someone which we've already fast-tracked our plans and we've got our targets in mind and we're going to go with that. I think that would be a really bad thing to do, because we've got someone who has gone through a number of different years with different situations and scenarios where he's obviously made mistakes, he's learned from them, and he's been part of a very successful team in which he's been alongside Diego Simeone driving that with a lot of success. We should be using his knowledge from the get-go, not because we've already fast-tracked plans. We should be listening to him, we should be learning from him, and we should be taking his ideas on board. It doesn't mean that he's infallible, but I don't believe this idea of, Arsenal, they've already got their ideas, we should just go with that. No, we should be challenged. We should listen to what he's doing, and clearly already he's having his impact with this news, if it is true. So I'm happy there in terms of it's clear. For me, it seems like that he's having his impact already. Yeah.
I think on the Berta thing, absolutely, and I think George has made this point that he is going to be someone who uses the media, and I think that's it looks like to be the case. I think we've already seen a lot more links.
So you think it's a smokescreen?
I think there's a difference between a smokescreen and I'm absolutely positive he's talking to Gyökeres. Absolutely, I'm certain that information from Arsenal is true. But the key part is that last paragraph is you're getting a sense of what the market is out there. And when we come to the player in a second, I'll explain that. Josh Miller says, thank you for revisiting Gyökeres. And the first scouted on him, you said you'd take him for the 60 million price point. Is this still the case, or are you fully out? Good question. I'll come to that in a second. I think just on Berta, just to come back on your point, a good sporting director, in my opinion, has contacts, information, and creates options for a coach. So a good sporting director doesn't do all the work on one guy who then falls over and you have no other options. You are talking to everyone. You are talking to this player's agent, that player's agent, what's going on here, keep me updated here. You're having meetings with him. You're saying, you're a brilliant player, you're a lovely guy. Doesn't mean I'm going to give you the money. Doesn't mean I'm going to go upstairs and say, hey, this is the guy we should sanction. That's the conversations to have with Tim Lewis and Richard Garlick and whatever. But a sporting director is that guy who's, who does the legwork in the deals, right? So I think there is a false idea that, if he's talking to him, that must mean he's number one. That's just part of his job. It's like saying manager leads training. Ooh, well, that says something, doesn't it? Looks like a football game's going to be played. It's like, yeah, okay. So, yeah, I think on Gyökeres himself,
you're not a big fan, are you?
Well, the question is what we're asking him to do. The question is, what are we asking of signing a new number 9 when we already have Kai Havertz? We are asking someone to go over and above what we already have, to be not only not lose what we have, but add on top. And for me, headline, Gyökeres adds some things and takes some things away. He's about, and Josh Miller puts it here, about a 50, 60 million pound striker, in my opinion. Let me put something to you. If David Orns, did you see the comments on the videos that the scouted we did for Gyökeres?
Not seen anything of it, no.
So a lot of the comments are basically, don't overthink this. And I want to be absolutely clear. People can have different opinions on players. That's genuinely absolutely fine. And your different interpretations. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a Gyökeres expert because I've seen some Y Scout playlists, some games of him, whatever. I'm a fan as everyone else is. But so, yeah, we can have different perceptions. I also think there is an argument to sign Gyökeres. Maybe you could say him plus someone else, maybe move someone on, and maybe we're playing this way. Okay, yeah, I can begin to get on board with that. What I can't get on board with is stop overthinking he scores goals. That's not an argument. It's not an argument. It's like saying he cost a lot of money, so he must be good. It's that basic. The whole point is translation, and that's where we come to the player. So a number of things before it comes to the player. He is 18 of his goals this season have been penalties, which you have to score penalties, you have to win penalties, but this goal record that gets bandied around, 18. He's like, and if I can go on Transfermarkt and just check that, but I checked that yesterday and I'm pretty sure it's true. Transfermarkt, Gyökeres. Another thing about James's computer, his Y is in place of the Z.
Has he done a bit of a manual job, or
I don't know what he's done.
he might have done a bit of a manual job?
So Gyökeres, total penalties scored 18 in 24-25 in all competitions. So again, you have to score penalties, but this incredible goal scoring record everyone talks about has to be considered with 18. And I can't remember if I've said this point before. If David Ornstein hadn't said we're in for Gyökeres, I think the response would be very, very different.
There's always that. Yeah.
Very, very different. Because people are trying to think their way into it. And that's absolutely fine. And by the way, as I say, there is an argument for Gyökeres, but I'm just making my argument, right? So a lot of penalties. If you also go on Portuguese League top scorer, yeah, here we go. Liga Portugal, top goal scorers. If you go through these lists, so let's even go back. Do any of these names, maybe other than Hulk, but even then he didn't translate to the Premier League, did any of these names translate to the Premier League? Everyone who's gone and scored 34 goals, these are the lists of players who have gone to, who've been in the Portuguese League and been the top scorer. Have they translated to the Premier League? I would argue none of them have.
But is that fair to use?
It's certainly fair as part of an argument. Why would it not be fair to use?
I think I'm not saying you're not, but I think you have to look at the individual though. Like,
and I'm coming. No, I'm coming.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying you're not, but I'm just saying like I think if you go with that, I'm not saying you are, but if you go with that angle, I don't think it holds a lot of weight personally.
I think it does because the question, as I say, is translation. That's the question. The question is he going to translate to the Premier League? And this is absolutely a part of it. Traditionally, have people in the Portuguese League translated to the Premier League? No. Is this number one of my argument against Gyökeres? No, but it's certainly part of it, as the penalties thing is. Then you come on to the player. Gyökeres, from what I see, has really good movement in the box. He's a really good finisher. He would add a lot to us in terms of in transition. And that would add goals to us. But then, in my opinion, in terms of his all-round play, especially when he turns away from the goal, we lose goals. So we lose goals in terms of him bringing other people into play. I think we lose goals in terms of what Havertz does, dropping out to the wings. I think we lose goals in terms of headed goals. I think we lose goals in terms of probably the intensity and the variety of the press that Kai Havertz can give us. I think we lose goals in terms of the spaces he gets sometimes, and the quality of the defending in the Portuguese League is very, very different. So I think we lose goals there. So I think in terms of where we're gaining and losing, I think we probably end up being about the same. Now, the question is, do you want volume of goals, right? Are we talking volume of goals? Well, not particularly, but I think he adds a skill that we maybe are lacking, one of them, but we then have to come back to what we're asking him to do. We're asking him to come in and be the guy to lead Arsenal to the Premier League and Champions League. Is he an option for me? Yeah. But if you think he's going to come in and be Isak or Osimhen or Watkins or whatever, I really think you'll be disappointed. That's my personal opinion. I think maybe in combination with someone else, there could be something there, but I think we'd see quite quickly there's limitations to his game as well. And that's just what I think.
So I can't say much because I need to watch more games, but to play devil's advocate, do we need him to be an Isak or a Watkins to take us to the glory?
If we're, I think
so.
I think I go back to my point. He will play a position in the team. So I think you then need to go and spend serious money on a wide player. Like crazy money. And if you're planning on spending 60-70 million on Gyökeres, which is what it would be, plus I don't know what, Barcola or whatever it might be, I think that may be where you get there. But on his own, Gyökeres coming in on his own, I don't see that.
What about Gyökeres and Williams?
I think there's too much development for Williams to do as well, personally. So I think you'd have to go and get the best left winger, the best left winger you could on the market. And personally, I think I just I look at like other players.
I think for me, I think like last at the start of this season, I felt Arsenal could win the Premier League, and I was confident in that, right? And I stand by that. If Arsenal had a bit more luck, injury-wise, I still think it would have been probably a tall order with what Liverpool are doing. I think we can't hide the fact that Liverpool have had a season that nobody could have predicted in terms of how consistent they have been. Forget about all the other things in terms of how they've had better fortune with injuries and stuff like that. But I had a strong opinion of Arsenal then. So fast track to this summer, I don't believe Arsenal needs to improve the front line. Hands down, it needs to be the biggest area of investment. But I stand by, I don't think Arsenal need a 30-goal striker. You know, I don't believe that. I still think it's a case of if you can improve the front line, add qualities to this front line, it doesn't need to be a game breaker. Arsenal can win the Premier League. They can do it. And that's where I stand. So I'm not saying Gyökeres, therefore, is the answer because I don't know. But I think...
But that's what a lot of people are saying. And I think for me...
Yeah.
For a similar price, you can go for a more proven product in someone like an Ollie Watkins or a Victor Osimhen,
100%,
or someone like that. And to be clear, and actually something we weren't saying on the Scouted, in no circumstance, no way, this is a terrible player. No, we were just saying that if you think this is the guy coming in to fix all of Arsenal's issues, you are sorry that it's not going to happen. He's also really poor. He's also really poor in the air. Really, like we watched like 25 clips of him in the air. He's not good. And like, oh mate, bad, like really bad.
Wow.
But so there's many different ways to get what we want this season. If Arsenal pulled out some, mad, you could sign like Rodrigo or something, and Gyökeres, I'd be buzzing because Gyökeres adds something for certain games that 100% gives us something, and he, as you said earlier, he can improve. But I just. For me, I think the people are saying this is the answer for Arsenal. Gyökeres is the chosen one, without thinking about how that translates and without thinking about the other options out there. And I look at Šeško, Ekitike, Isak, Osimhen, Watkins. I'm sure there's other strikers that we can name as well, plus the wingers. And he's just quite far down my list. That's basically what I feel.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. I need to watch more. I'm interested because I feel this play is very polarizing. Like really polarizing, like from opinions that you see from like people who watch sporting religiously, like, and there's so
and I don't as well. So it's fair to say,
it's interesting, but it's like that's where I'm intrigued by this because you have some fans who think he is this good, but then others have the concerns of the transferable qualities, how that translates to the Premier League. I mean, I don't know how. I think he had a good spell at Coventry, but I don't know of the magnitude and how many goals.
It was a goal involvement every other game, which okay, are you sure he will have developed? Of course he's developed, but people are saying, see, he's worked in England. Is a goal involvement every other game in the Championship what you want? Like, is you're sure? And this is the thing I think, as I said, I think if you played more to his strengths, if you work with him, if you signed a left winger, there is an argument for Gyökeres. But the question is always the translation. And I don't see him having the same spaces. I see him getting bullied by Premier League centre-backs. I don't see how he creates the dynamics we like in the sense in low blocks, because certainly from what we were watching, I didn't see much sort of smart movement or whatever. A lot of his work in the midfield is really, it's like first he sort of knocks it off to his guy. He's not really got Havertz drops in sometimes and the ball goes out to the wing or whatever it is. He's got the picture. He's not quite got that. Again, from what I've seen, I could be totally wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, this I think the question is always translation, and this is my frustration with. I'm sure there's people who commented and have completely valid points, and that's completely fair. We all have different opinions on players, but you can't ignore the translation question. That is always the question. Otherwise, there's a guy in like the Singaporean league who scored like 39 goals. Oh, we'll go sign him then. Well, no, that's just ridiculous. Okay, well then why are you so sure it will happen for someone else? I'd be asking the same question for the Bundesliga. Leagues are different, but then when I look at the historical move, it hasn't quite worked.
Interesting, very interesting. I don't think it will happen anyway.
I don't think it'll happen either.
Yeah.
I think he's on the list, and supposedly what we see. But I think for example, with an Ollie Watkins, you are proven, but you also don't lose anything you already have. You also have variety in terms of left wing and right wing as well, and you get someone who's, I think, a better penalty box striker. I think someone who is maybe not as good on the transition.
Watkins is fantastic. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get it, and it's all. If Gyökeres was the only striker available on the market, you go, oh, okay, but he's not. So
Yeah.
it's just
Who do you
like,
want, Alex? Who do you want?
Isak,
And
obviously.
Isak's not on the table.
Let's say Isak isn't on the table. I would go for. I think Šeško and Nico Williams gives us enough.
I agree. That was what my pick.
I
I
think
think
Šeško
Nico Williams, which is the other thing. I think Nico Williams. I don't think he's as raw as what people suggest. Personally, I think he is. When I look at the way Arsenal use the left winger, I think Nico Williams is perfect for that. Perfect. Genuinely, yeah.
Yeah, in terms of getting from out to in. And because also that means it's a rotating front cast. Like you don't have to play with the same guy every time. But in terms of, again, I always talked last summer about the skills gap. Like we have a skills gap in this team, which is someone who can, well, we transitional inevitability, pace, all the stuff we've all said a million times, right? Getting us in and from high turnovers to shots. Those guys fix those problems. Do they fix every other problem in our team? Not necessarily, but there's games where that matters more. There's games where that matters less.
Yeah.
And they can both develop those other skills as well.
But what you've just suggested there is what I've been trying to say, in the sense of you would like Šeško and Williams. You'd be very happy with that window in terms of frontline options. So you don't think Arsenal are that far away?
No, I don't.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, I this is where I sit in the camp of, like, I don't believe Arsenal need to sign Alexander Isak in order for them to progress and to win the Premier League next season. I disagree with that. It makes it certainly easier for sure. But it's, you could get priced out of that, especially if Newcastle are in the Champions League. And then you have to ask yourself the question, yes, he's fantastic. He is world class, but is this now getting stupid? And that's where I'm looking at it and thinking, Šeško, I don't think Šeško is that far away as well. He is certainly raw, but I don't think he's that far away. And Nico Williams, in terms of what Mikel Arteta likes in a winger, in terms of isolated 1v1s, and the ability to go down the byline, the ability to come inside, Nico Williams is perfect. He is perfect for Arsenal. It's the same way as Bradley Barcola is perfect for Arsenal.
Yeah, I agree. For what the current version is.
Yeah.
Look, there's a million different ways to break a window, and I don't mean transfer window. I mean literally a window. Like you can, the best version is you get a tank, and you can break the window. That's Isak. But you can also get a hammer. You can also kick a football at it. You can also. There's a many different ways of doing it, and I agree with you. I also, if we think about Saka's impact this season, we'll come on to the Fulham game in just a second. Think about Saka's impact this season. How close would we have been? Maybe would we have got over the line with Saka? Like, really think about how close we would have been if Saka had been fit. We already have that in our squad, so that tells us we're not 300 million in the attack away. We're probably a player or two. And to me, I put it into skills, and Šeško and Nico Williams solve our skills gap and are ready now to contribute and will also develop.
Exactly. They may be raw, but they have qualities that Arsenal lack right now. And that's the key. Yeah. That's what I'm looking at. Do these players improve Arsenal now? Yes. Do they still have a long way to go? Yes. Both. It's not mutually exclusive, but those players can deliver and can give us an impact now that allows us to achieve the goals that we want. And that's where I stand on it. Also don't need to go and do this extravagant buy. I don't think people would look at Šeško and Williams as big names at the moment, but that can win Arsenal the league. And
I don't know if it happens because of Williams' contract situation, but I do agree. Yeah, look, just on your quiz, and I want to make this point again. And people should go to the comments and on that video. And it's interesting. And look, ultimately, when you get feedback, you have to look at it and think, okay, whatever. A lot of the comments are, we're overcomplicating this. We're overthinking this. He scores goals. If you want to say to me, actually, Alex, Mikel might change his system. If we sign this player with that player, maybe become more transitional. I think he scores more goals that way. I think he can improve his technical quality by doing this thing specifically. I actually don't think he's as bad in the air. If you look at these situations, if there's an argument, I'm sure, but it can't just be number Premier League title. Like it just isn't that, unfortunately.
What you've just said there, as I spoke about before, in terms of the Arteta outers, let's say, and it's like confirmation bias towards that. You are now seeing the opposite end of the spectrum now, where people, right? This is the thing. This is why it's annoying on both sides. Like some of these guys have not watched him play. Including myself. That's why I don't give a substantial opinion on it. But because it is a link that has come that is kind of fitting into their Arteta narrative as well. It's what's it called? It's like cognitive dissonance, I think.
Yeah.
It's like you have this belief and
You'll just look for things that
you'll just look
confirm
for
that
things to
belief.
kind of maintain that, isn't it? So it's
absolutely. And I get it as well. You know,
Yeah.
have I commented on players I haven't massively watched? Yeah, of course I have in the past.
Mm.
But it's like I think if you're actually trying to argue the case, I think it's an interesting one. Look, let's be real as well. He passes the name test. And he's called Victor.
The celebration is cool,
and he's got a cool celebration.
Imagine at the Emirates, everyone doing that. Oh,
and by the way, that's actually people would laugh at this. I actually think it's part of the argument. Like I really do. Like I think someone having a bit of a brand and a bit of an aura and a bit of a sense of themselves, you need that to play in the Premier League, 100%. So you know that's definitely. And I think and again, we said on the video he could probably play for Chelsea or United or Spurs or whatever. Yeah. And it was, you're saying he's rubbish. Yeah. I'm saying a guy who could play Champions League football at one of the best Premier League teams in the world is rubbish, sure. So, yeah. Maracas says definitely celebration is a factor. But Sesko jumps high. Yeah, Sesko's celebration is cool as well.
Yeah, yeah. I love Sesko.
Bukayo Saka is back. What a moment.
Do you know what's so ironic, right? Like, I could easily picture him coming back and scoring, but he scored a goal that I'd say is a weaker part to his game.
Yeah, it's a header. Yeah.
Not just the header, but also the back post, being aware and being alert and smelling that danger. I think Jorginho said it as well. It's like, what are the things Bukayo Saka could do better? It's like heading was one, but also like sniffing arriving and being there to smell the danger and being ready. He can get handful of goals by just doing that more. Like Monaco at home, very similar. The Jesus cross across the face of goal. Like that's what I really liked about it. I know that's very nerdy, but I was like, but it's like I think it was really good. So
yeah,
and I got my FPL points. So yeah,
that's all that matters, mate. That's all that matters. Yeah, it was really nice. I mean, we spoke about Martinelli as well, but it's really nice to see him. I think that moment it really did feel quite 22-23 with Martinelli and Saka. With Martinelli on the inside, that assist, by the way,
it's class.
Wow. Like, and he fully means that as well. There's no, he really means that.
Yeah.
And
he had a fantastic game. But I will say though, right, and I know I'm going to get very nerdy here, and it'll only be very brief. So hear me out. So I think Arsenal now are being faced by teams who are adopting a lot of familiarity in how to set up to Arsenal's right-hand side. Fulham did exactly the same as what West Ham did. They did exactly the same as what Bayern Munich tried to do last season in terms of locking off that right-hand side, going aggressive, man-to-man. And what that meant was that you need other solutions. Now, when you have a Bukayo Saka, it's different. You know, even in that scenario, quality dictates he can still create and he can produce magic. But in those scenarios where you don't have him, you need to find other avenues. And Arsenal were attacking a lot through the left in that game against Fulham. And what they did is they exposed what Fulham tried to do on the counter. They kept Adama Traore higher. And what that meant was that Martinelli had a lot more 1v1s against Castagna. If you go and watch that game, there's not many times where Martinelli is drawn double team. It's 1v1 against Castagna because Fulham, they had that trade-off. They wanted to keep Adama Traore higher. They tried to lock off our right-hand side. So they left themselves a little bit weaker on the left, and Martinelli capitalized on that. And that's where I think to myself, when I watch that game, I look at the volume of 1v1s we had, and if other teams are going to try and adopt similar principles of locking off Arsenal's right-hand side, imagine you can get a left winger isolated on the touchline who has that ability to go both ways and to give you that quality. And that's where I'm thinking to myself, like Nico Williams, for example. Imagine someone like that there.
And it's why we signed Calafiori as well.
Yeah. So it was interesting because, again, Fulham doing something very similar to what other teams doing, but also found solutions through the left-hand side. And Martinelli had a fantastic game from an individual perspective. So, yeah. Yeah,
he did. It was a really nice night. And I think there's a lot to like about the getting the wingers inside. And as you say, if we can, it feels like we've been speaking about this for like 18 months, but solve this left-hand side, however that ends up being. I think an aspect of this as well, something I said on the instant reaction, just the bravery from Martinelli, like the belief in himself. Like I felt like he knew he had the fullback on toast, and that changed his game. It changed how he approached the spaces. It changed how he impacted the spaces. It changed where he arrived into the box because he knew he could do it. And I think a lot of the time he shepherds himself out because he sort of doesn't back himself. And I would love him to keep that up. I would love him to keep that level of intention and the desire to be like, look, I'm just going to keep trying at my fullback, and I'm going to keep trying in the right spaces, not get myself too far wide, because then I can just retain it and play it back and no one's going to have a go at me. No, go at him, lose the ball. And, you know, if one of them comes off, you're in an unbelievable position. So I think he's been very safe this season. I think that's why what people were saying, or maybe joking about with the Brazilian passport thing, is he kind of he found himself again and he backed himself again. That's what people love, and I would love to see that again. I think it was amazing. But obviously the night was dominated by Saka. What else is there to say about this kid? He's just kid, man. He's next level, and I don't see. I think I maybe had times where I was like, we'll see, but we've got to the we'll see bit. He is the guy. He is what? Why is it crazy to target a Ballon d'Or? Why is it crazy? Objectively, numbers wise, he is goals and assists ahead of Rafinha, Haaland, Isak. I think Mbappe might be just ahead of him, but he's on that level. Why at 23 years old? Why is it crazy to suggest? I'm not saying Brandon Williams will win a Ballon d'Or. I'm saying a guy who has done this in the Premier League. It's unbelievable.
Performs in every single environment he has faced.
Yeah.
He's been exposed to. When Arsenal was struggling and they were on their knees, it was Bukayo Saka as a teenager operating in a number of different positions: left back, left wing back, right wing back, left centre mid, right centre mid, left wing, right wing, all as a teenager, whilst being our most consistent performer alongside the likes of Granit Xhaka, to then now spearheading the attack to successive title challenges in which he's producing insane numbers. And now this season, he's going on to produce an unprecedented season where he's going toe-to-toe with Salah in terms of, I think, goal contributions per 90, chances created, everything, you know, and he was producing that quality in every single game. But it doesn't just stop at club football. The beauty of Bukayo Saka, as I said, the best players, they don't need others around them in order for them to flourish. If you get players around them that allows them to flourish, you see an even higher, a greater level, but they can still produce quality. And that's what he's done for England time and time again. Like in the Euros, Kyle Walker was having an awful campaign. Bukayo Saka was still England's best forward player alongside the likes of Jude Bellingham. He produces every single time. And this is what I mean. This is a player who produces regardless of the circumstances. And even this season, he's producing these numbers in which he's had a Ben White playing at times who was not fully fit, who I think hindsight, maybe people suggest he should have had surgery, let's say. I think that is some of the talk that I'm hearing from people clued up on the field, but also Thomas Partey at right back. Kai Havertz moving into Ødegaard's role when Ødegaard was out. These are not circumstances that are allowing Bukayo to thrive, but he still produces it because of just what he is, you know.
Yep.
So
no, completely. And I think your piece of string thing comes up, and this is what separates the good from the great. It's players who, no matter the circumstance, and this is what I've been maybe frustrated with Martinelli a little bit this season. He's not on Saka's level. I'm not expecting him to be, but it feels like sometimes we are, with him and Ødegaard and whoever it is, we're asking for the perfect environment for them to flourish. Yeah. No, the best players do it wherever, and we have to look for those guys. Someone says, the floodlights in the Emirates were off on Tuesday. Saka's smile illuminated the stadium. Salavi Saka this season per 90. Obviously, Salah's trouncing him for goals, but Saka's ahead of him for assists. Saka's ahead of him for chances created. Saka's ahead of him for big chances created. Saka's ahead of him for dribbles completed. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. As Gaming Shed Magic Geo says, Saka's numbers are stupid. I think this is the thing, and I think I saw someone said, I know opinions can change, but wasn't it Alex who said Saka couldn't be world class just last season? I didn't say he couldn't be world class. I said he wasn't at one point. I think it was beginning of last season, but by the end, I was saying he was. And the thing is like, it's kind of, how do you bank on a player becoming world class? I knew he would, but it's like, when does it happen? And I think this has actually happened. I expected that development that he was doing, that thing, to just taper off a little bit, and he'd get there. But you have that explosion as a player. You come up. There was some numbers on Sky Sports of his like development over the years. It's too linear. Was kind of my point at the time. Is like he's too linear. Like it shouldn't. shouldn't happen this way. Let me just try and find the numbers. I know where they are. Give me a second. But yeah, like
he improves every season.
And that was I was like, maybe we'll see. But again, he just took another leap, another one. It's just
and another one,
and another one.
But I think, do you know what it is? It's like, who would you say is the best left back in world football? I know I'll put you on the spot. I'd say
left back
in terms of most rounded. I'd say Nuno Mendes is up there.
Yeah, sorry. So this is what I was referring to. So this is Saka's goal involvements per 90 minutes since 2020 to 2021.
Yeah,
that's. In fact, he took the biggest leap this season.
Yeah.
I was expecting this to go to like, and this is about when I was saying, I don't know. Then he probably hit world class levels here, and then I expected it to just be about. He's gone even further. Sorry, carry on. Left back.
But no, but I'm going back to like I'd say
Saka left back.
The best round. That's what you believe.
It's not what I've said, is it?
But I'd say the best and most well-rounded left back in world football right now is Nuno Mendes. I think he's fantastic. Bukayo Saka had Nuno Mendes, absolutely had him on strings. You know, like I'm not doing the comparison. Obviously, Nuno Mendes had a great game against Salah over 2 legs, but I'm saying like this is what Saka's been doing all season. You know, every single circumstance and every single player that he's come up against, he's thrived, and this is what he is. And mate, his game intelligence and his IQ is what I think really separates him from others. Like he's just such a smart footballer. And mate, I don't know about you, but when there was that cross towards the back post, that bullet one that he did, I think after like 3 or 4 minutes, I was like, we're back.
He's back.
We're back.
He's cooking.
Those missiles.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's so good to have him back. And at least the rest of our team has managed to stay fit. Let's do as many questions as we can to finish off the show.
In 3-4 minutes? Yeah.
No. We'll be here for 8 minutes until the allotted time for this live show is done, Rohan. I don't care what Alan Sugar is saying. Do you actually want to go? You can if you want.
No, we'll do it.
No. If you hate the audience,
you.
Getting as many questions as you can to finish the show. Any plans for the summer, lads? Says Beans and Toast.
Definitely holidays for sure.
Yeah, where you going?
Well, I'm going to Athens in April. This month. Yeah, going to Athens in April. And
Lads
then
holiday, or?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I know what it is.
Yeah. And then
we'll call it that.
Definitely go to Japan at the end of the year. 100%.
Lovely. Have you booked that?
Yeah. No, but I will be going.
Yeah,
I will be going.
And
I'll do another summer holiday as well, and maybe like another one in September as well. So yeah, I'll be busy.
Arsenal AFC says, who are you going to Athens with?
I don't. Yeah, it's moving on.
Josh Miller says, which open numbers do you want our youth players to take or incoming? Oh, I love this question, Josh. I love squad numbers. David Raya needs to go to 1. Saliba 2. Calafiori 3. Ben White 4. Maybe a new midfield, deep midfield of 5 if Partey goes. 6 Gabriel, 7 Saka, 8 Odegaard, 9. If Jesus left, then a new 9. But if it was Isak, it would be 14.
Of course. Yeah.
10 Waneri.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe Miles takes 5. Because that could kind of suit wherever.
Yeah. And 5. Actually, 5's a bit centre backy though, isn't it?
I feel like he might stick with
5 centre backy though.
I feel like he might stick with 49.
Yeah, do you know what some players
might do that Foden thing, 47, Trent 66, like young players coming through, they just stick with their number, 41. 49 is quite a cool number.
I'll tell you what, one thing that I've really enjoyed this season, is people really seeing through Phil Foden, really seeing through him. Like, I've enjoyed it so much. Not say he's a bad player, he's still a very good player, but the conversations that Phil Foden was being put in, I wanted to throw bleach in my eyes, genuinely. It's like, genuinely like pained me so much. So that's certainly a success from this season.
Just Tom says, have you managed to get tickets for next week, lads?
All
I
right.
haven't, Tom. Have you done it?
No, I haven't as well.
This was you. You were last week. We're going, yeah, I'll find a way.
It's early days. It's early days. It's all right.
It's early days. In 5 days.
Is it on Tuesday?
It's on Tuesday, yeah.
This weekend is going to be a bit of
It's
a.
going to be a struggle.
Got to go through all my contacts. Don't be left on red.
That's a good point, Sean. 49 for the number of unbeaten games you were. And when was he born? Oh, I bet it was like 2000. Oh, 2006.
Okay.
So yeah, it was kind of that era of like he was born in that era of that team, kind of, sort of, a little bit late, but that's quite cool.
That's quite cool. What would your number be? Don't go 69.
69. I'll never not find that funny. It's just such a silly
You know what
joke.
I'm like. I find that.
Yeah, I know. You and George. I think I'd go. It would depend where I was on the pitch. I'm always like, I would say I'm a left-sided attacking midfielder if I had to pick my position to cut in on the right. So maybe
is that you?
Yeah, that's me. I might go for like an 11. I feel like I suit an 11.
Okay.
What number do I suit? Not what number should I have?
So you're similar in height to me. You give me winger vibes. You do give me winger vibes. Yeah.
I think I give number 11 vibes.
Yeah, you give me like Dwight McNeil vibes.
Mark Albrighton. I think you give number 13 vibes. Like you're an outfielder who wears number 13.
I genuinely wasn't good at football. I won't lie. I hate when people sometimes are like, "Oh, I was really good at football." I wasn't good.
It's the same argument as we would never coach. These guys have never played professional football. Oh, okay.
Yes, I haven't played and I wasn't good. Okay.
2K Dav says, would you guys wear wrist tape and cut socks and all that? Or I would go if I'm going full outfit.
Yeah.
I think the hair's fine. Would I give it a no? Because you don't want to see the hairline. I think the hair would stay as. I'd get a little bit of a beard trim. I look a bit homeless at the minute. I'd go white Under Armour. Tape on the wrist. Not on the wrist, on the finger. I'd have finger tape on one side and wrist tape on the other. I'd tape it up, but I have a finger tape. I don't know why. I just do it. I'd go tucked in.
Mm-hmm.
No, I wouldn't. No, yeah, I would. I'd go tucked in.
Tucked in, teeny.
Yeah, but I'd go low socks.
Okay, greenish. So you're teeny and greenish.
And white boots.
And white boots.
What would you do?
I'd be Sean Dyche. I'd give Sean Dyche vibes. Just go out there, freezing cold, no thermal or
just
shirt,
t-shirt, not even shoes,
not even socks. Break my leg. Go on, do it. Do it.
Well, that's a good question. Who do you think we look like we should play for?
I'd say I'd be like Bolton. Just not very good.
I've got so many jokes that I can't make.
I know what you're going to say. And I know what I was going to say as well.
Well, you could say it. I'm not saying it.
I don't want to say it, just in case someone gets offended. So.
I think you look like you could play for Leicester. 07 Villa.
07 Villa. Okay.
Yeah, I see
Martin
that for you.
O'Neill vibes.
Yeah, Martin O'Neill's Villa. I buy that.
Gabby Bonlahor.
Yeah, it's the 888 bet or whatever it was. Like hang on. Yeah, like Gabby Bonlahor era. Ashley Young. Why are people just saying you play for Indian teams? I love these guys that when we're waffling, there's
No
always one person
Punjabi,
trying to do
no
serious
Punjabi.
analysis. Simon says it was Alex's Hadjuk split. I look like a Brentford player. I see me at Brentford actually.
Oh, you do love Thomas Frank, don't you? Say
Like a little bit like a midfielder.
Yeah.
Who they signed from Hadjuk split, but I'm like not quite making it in the league. Rohan plays for Leicester, Bournemouth for Alex. I'm from Bournemouth, so I mean this is where we're both. This is where we're both from. So that makes sense, Nathan. Yeah. Sunderland. I could see you at Sunderland actually.
What era of Sunderland? Are we going with the Dick Advocat
I
era?
think right
or-
now. I think the
Right
Joe
now?
Bellingham, Enzo
Joe
Lefebvre.
Bellingham?
era.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Have you watched Joe Bellingham?
No,
I like him.
it's good. Yeah.
I like him. He's more defensively switched on than Jude. Probably has a little bit less going forward, but I like him. Right, we're cutting into Rohan's apprentice time, guys. So we've got to finish there. Thank you all for being here. Sorry, it was probably a bit of a depressing one because of the Gabriel conversation, but we've got to have it. It's really unfortunate, and I just can't wait. The first TCP live when one of these three things has happened. We've beaten Real Madrid. Sorry, when we beat Real Madrid. When we catch up to Liverpool and beat in the Premier League in the title race, or failing both of those, and we won't fail in either of those, when we sign Isak on June the 1st. And I have, where is it? I have our 13th of February. You bet me £20 that if Newcastle didn't get the UEFA Champions League, we still wouldn't get Isak. And I said we would.
Yep. So get ready to cough that up soon. He's not wrong, and that's he's not.
Let's
wrong.
be clear. Neither of us will get any game time.
However,
Do you know-
cricket, we're talking a different game. I was.
Do you know what I'm worried about?
Yeah.
One day being, we love Rohan too, Arsenal FC. We love him too. One day being forced to play a charity game. Like I can't
I'm actually like worried.
You know what I mean? Like someone organises like an Arsenal charity game and we have to play.
Maybe it works in our
it.
favour, right? Because I'm saying right now on it, I was not good at football.
We've got to manage it. Surely we'd be the managers.
Yeah, but that's a bit of a cop out, isn't it?
I don't care, mate.
No, we got to play, Alex. We have to play. We have to play.
2 sprints, I'm done.
The fitness wise, I'll be right. I'll be fine.
Oh, you'll be fine.
The fitness, but in terms of the actual ball,
the ball.
we will not be there.
You'd be talking about like how they're pressing in the man for man shape.
I'll tell you what though. One thing with football, I could see the game, I could see the picture, but I couldn't play. I could not.
That's genuinely me. My creative passing, really good.
Okay, I'll get on the end of them.
Yeah. Mate, we cook. Little Henri and Bergkamp vibe. Love that. Right. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you being here. We were going to release a new series on the Cannon podcast on Sunday, but we are now not going to do that because it didn't work. So there we go. And what have we got? We've got an instant reaction coming on Saturday. We've got a live data podcast coming next week, which we're very excited about. Live next Friday. Rohan, I wish you all the best in getting your tickets for the Real Madrid game.
I'll be there. I'm joking. I don't think I'll get it.
I
don't think I'll get it. I'll be honest. I'm actually a bit disappointed.
In who? You're saying it like you're disappointed in someone else.
No, in myself.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I should be pushing more.
I'm actually quite disappointed in you guys.
I'm kind of like sitting there thinking it's going to happen as opposed to actually acting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not really how life works. Thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for watching. And thanks.
So let's I'll miss the intro now.
We're keeping it Arsenal.
Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. Electrifying.